Yes, hello. Good afternoon, family. This is your boy James Sampurikin. We are welcome back to the James Sampurikin Show. Today we have a discussion on Akuapem Poloo'S 90 days imprisonment and matters arising. There've been a lot of discussions revolving around her sentencing and then what have you. So today we have a very distinguished guest in our house or in this on this program. He's going to take us through the laws and what have you concerning nudity and some other stuff that we shouldn't be publishing. Or if you should, you have to be very reasonable. You have to take care in the publication of such materials online. So without wasting much time, I would like to you, our guest, Honorable Ajakwa Kwesi. Please, you're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much.
Um, okay. So please, Honorable, when you say Ajakun, who is Ajakun? Can you tell us a story of yourself?
My name is Kosi Jakun. I completed University of Professional Study in 2020 with a Bachelor's of Law. I'm currently at the Ghana School of Law, Part 1, and I'm with the profession. I'm doing the professional course, hopefully to be called the bar next year.
Wow, 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 wow. So insightful. I'm so grateful to have you. It's not easy getting you because a lot of you are busy and then what have you. I'm so grateful you are making a time for this program. Thank you so much for coming.
Also, and
All right. So to begin with, what do you think? Do you think dragging Akin's Polo to court was the right thing, or was it right in the first place? Okay, to drag it to court before you delve into the legalities. These are just
well,
preliminary matters.
with my opinion, I think it was very right in the sense of the number in the sense of the way a lot of people are, there are a lot of uproar in the social media fraternity where a lot of people are trying to move align with that kind of thing, especially in reference to the new jargon, that is the slave paying method that everyone thinks that maybe he can when he or she posts any new thing, he can gain fame or something. Those things are really things that are really getting of concern. And to me, his case is serving as a deterrent. Though no one wants to be used as a scapegoat, but to me, I thought it's being used as a deterrent to limit those kind of acts.
Wow, wow, wow. That sounds so. So having said that, what do you think? Okay, in the interest of our viewers, what were exactly the charges that were slapped or leveled against her, leading to her sentencing?
Or he was charged with the with section with section 280 of the 29, that is the Criminal and Other Offences Act, with
Okay.
publishing or producing or making a representation of any publications which is quote unquote obscene in nature, and also with the Child's Domestic Violence Act too, which also states that anyone uh, who publishes anything of that sort, that is in relation to a child, that was what. And the other charge is the cyber security of he publishing or sending anything relating to a child.
Wow, wow. So if I do understand you correctly, that is to say the originating factors, okay, leading to this whole case was premised on the rights of the child, right?
Yes.
Wow, wow. Um, Now, so can you now delve into the laws specifically? Okay, that
Okay.
with the case. All right. So you've made mention of the Domestic Violence Act. You've mentioned of
Yeah.
the Criminal Offences Act. So under what
Yeah.
section of any of these statutes that led to the sentencing of Poloo'S?
Well, first of all, before we delve into the acts, one of the things that is very key is the constitution of that's the 1992 constitution of the Republic of Ghana. That one has to be mindful of because it is the main backbone of every law that is passed in this country. And it is enshrined in the constitution. That is, even specifically speaking, Article 28.1, which also gives prohibits anyone gives Parliament, in fact, gives Parliament the power to pass any law in protection of a child in relation to public morals and public morality. So those things are the things that the Constitution itself backs everything that has happened. And there's a new law which has been passed that is very current. That is the Cyber Security Act, Act 1038, which also burdens talks about a lot of things that is happening in relation to maybe any device, any media platform, or anything that we send that must be in dealing with a child of that sort. So with specific reference, maybe I will start with the Cyber Security Act to enlighten our viewers on those acts, because in that one touches on a lot of on a broader scope in relation to anything done with the child. Okay, so then I should start with that one.
Yes, please. So go ahead. You can start with that.
Okay. So with the Cyber Security Act, that is Act 1038, it makes reference to Section 62, specifically speaking of an indecent image or photograph of a child. And Section 68, if I'm reading, says that a person shall not A, take or permit to be taken an indecent image or photograph of a child. With a B, it says that produce or procure an indecent image or photograph of a child for the purpose of the publication of the indecent image or photograph through a computer or any other system. Then with a C, it says publish, stream, including live stream, like what we're doing, an indecent image or photograph of a child through a computer or an electronic device. Possess an indecent image or photograph of a child in the computer system or a computer or electronic storage medium. So basically what Section 62.1 is trying to talk about is that no one, irrespective of your age, money, gender, color, or race, no one is allowed to or is permitted to take any photograph of a child which is indecent in nature. So, in respect to what we are discussing of the Akuapem Poloo'S case, that the picture, this was a picture which the mother herself was naked. I mean, fully naked, though there were some parts that were hidden, and the child too was completely naked, apart from the little underwear that he was wearing. You get it? So, in that context, one can say that it was an indecent image, and the law bars it based on the Section 62.1 of Act 1038, which states that to post or to take a picture of any of an indecent image to any person, or in respect to a child. You are not supposed, the law does not allow you to do such a thing.
Okay. Wow.
And for you to see how serious such crime is, Section 62.2 gives the penalty awarded for such crimes when any person is found guilty of such an offense. And Section 62.2 says that any person who is found or who contravenes the act of maybe publishing or taking a photograph of an indecent picture of a child is liable to a summary conviction of not less than 2,500 penalty units and not more than 5,000 penalty units. And
So
for us, for our viewers to be able to appreciate what this fine is, one penalty unit is equated to 12 Ghana cedis.
wow.
So
So
if
okay, that's so
okay,
interesting. That's so interesting. So like a lot of time you do hear, I mean, this person have been sentenced to like a fine of 5,000 penalty units. So the penalty units is always equated to 12 Ghana cedis. All right.
yes, one penalty
Okay.
unit is equated to 12 Ghana cedis. So the number of penalty
Wow.
units which you can find, you multiply it. So looking at 2,000, not less than 2,500 penalty units, it's a very huge
Okay.
number of penalty units. So multiplying will be around more than 10,000 cities if you are supposed to. It will be more than 10,000 units if you are supposed to use the extreme method, meaning that the person is supposed to find more than 5,000 penalty units, which is 12
Wow.
cities. It's more than even 10,000.
Wow. 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 That's so interesting.
So that one alone, see how serious the Constitution or this act is serious about protecting any child from these indecent exposure into the public or any of that sort. The public necessarily means that you being you taking a picture and maybe posting it on social media as it happened to if you have been Poloo'S case, he posted it on Instagram and it may be any other social media platform. So these things happen, and the constitution does not want these things to happen. And if you don't take care, you see the rationale for this, the rationale for Parliament passing such an act is that, you see, one of the things that we must bear in mind is that the constitution does not want to, or is not barring anybody from maybe doing anything that might seem immoral. Let me put it that way.
Okay.
However, the constitution concerns with posting or publishing something of that sort into the public. The reason being that, especially in relation to children, and one of the things that we all know is that the constitution, these are the people that the constitution really protects is the child and the mother or any female. That's a lot. That's the constitution plays a lot of concern in relation to this protection of these people. That is the child and the mother. The reason being
Okay.
that a child is someone who really does not appreciate a lot of things, whose brain has not matured yet, doesn't really know what is good or what is bad. You get it. So when a child starts feeding with such images and such things, by the time you realize the child's way of thinking has already been perverted, and if a child's thinking is perverted in such a manner, it will be very hard to bring back that person when he's fully grown. And the reason is that, as I said, or as I mentioned earlier on, that the constitution in itself does not bar anybody from doing anything that it might seem immoral to people. However, in publishing it to an online or any public domain, that is where the constitution really matters.
Oh, okay. So now you are more or less trying to debunk the saying that, I mean, if all one way or the other seen our parent nakedness and there's nothing wrong with what he just published, because some school of thought also saying that, yeah, there's nothing wrong. The little boy is her child, so there's actually nothing wrong. So the publication is what actually amounted to the crime, right?
Yes, it is not. It is not the act itself that happened. No, it is not the act itself, because even when you read the Cyber Security Act, it does not really mention of you not. It's not. It does not prevent you from even doing such an act. Maybe going to bath with your mother, and you can bath with your mother in the bathroom. It does not prevent such an act. However, by taking any picture, that's why Section 62(1) says that you taking any picture which is indecent in the sense of you publishing it online or you posting it online or you sending it to someone. It will be through maybe WhatsApp or any other platforms or any other social media platform. Because when it gets to that arena, that means that the public has an access to it. And once it gets into the public domain, you don't have control over whatever whoever sees it, and that is what the law is trying to prevent in itself.
Wow, wow. I get it. I get it now. So I think you can proceed with the point. But before you proceed, please let me bring in this one. Um, you know, beneath the publication of the said, nude picture, all right, the
Yeah.
inscription that was attached to reads, I am naked in front of you because this is how naked I was giving birth to you. So in case you find me lying somewhere, don't pass by, but see me as your mom who brought you to life. Unquote. These were the words of Akuapem Polo. Aren't you taking it out of context? In every crime, you say that there must be the intention, the mens rea, and then the actor's roles. All right, the actor's role basically have to do the conduct, and then the intention is the mens rea is the intention behind the publication of. Did she mean any harm or anything criminal, like just for publication's sake, or to corrupt public mind, as the judge stipulated in her judgment? Or we should look at what really went into the publication of the picture?
Well, with one, it is generally it is at the discretion of the judge to determine what an indecent image is. However, the same Cybersecurity Act also talks about how indecent, or what will amount to something, what will amount to an indecent image. And the Cybersecurity Act also says that that is section 62, subsection 4, saying that for the purpose of this section, indecent image or photograph includes a material, visual recording, drawing, or text that depicts a child engaged in sexually explicit or suggestive conduct. B, a person who appears to be a child engaged in sexually explicit or suggestive conduct, or images representing a child engaged in sexually explicit or suggestive conduct. It goes on, and even with the E, it says any written material, visual representation, or audio recording that advocates, counsels sexual activity that would be an offense under the Criminal Offences Act. So even with what we were saying, even the written inscription, that is the caption that she gave in relating to the picture which she posted, can be somewhere or the other fall under subsection 4. We say that any written, it can be written, so you don't even need to even post the actual picture in itself. But even if the words that it's in it is trying to give a suggestive contact or sexual nature, then it will fall under indecence.
Okay, I humbly appreciate that point. But you've already stated that you'll be taking it one after the other. You are on the Cybersecurity Act, and
Yeah,
then later we'll go to the. Yeah, so
yeah,
maybe when you get to the act she was sentenced on, I'll ask that
yeah,
question. In the sense that if you look
yeah,
at the Act 29, that's a criminal act. Okay, it
yeah,
didn't define what actually amounts to obscenity. Okay,
yeah.
so actually, is it at discretion of the judge to say that yes, this publication amounts to obscenity, and it can corrupt public morals and what have you?
Well, in actual fact, it is. It is the judge's discretion to determine what will amount to obscenity and not. And that is why I'm trying to say that the judges protect the Constitution of Ghana, and and in, in every case, one thing that the judges are much more concerned is keeping the public sanctity, because there can be any other act that is going on, but the public sanctity is of great importance to the judges, and it is the judge's discretion to determine whether something is of public is against public morals or anything. In reference to maybe something like alcohol, there are certain things, or alcohol is not bad in the country per se. However, there are certain things that you cannot do with alcohol in the public domain. Let's say, or something like even smoking cigarette. You can't smoke cigarette in the public. Anyone, anyone who is who is caught smoking cigarettes in the public can be arrested. Despite the fact that in Ghana, it's unfortunate that our laws are rightly there. However, it is the implementation that is a fact that is a problem. However, that does not mean that it is not a crime. The mere fact that someone is not punished for something else, for an offense which he has committed, does not mean that it is not a crime. Whenever you are caught with, it's just unfortunate that she was the scapegoat, and no one likes being scapegoat. However, that's the fact of the whole matter.
All right, that's cool. So maybe you can move on. We can move on with the order of the way you want to present the case. Yeah.
So then, as I was saying in subsection 2 of which states the fine of you being punished for more than 2,500 penalty is for not less than 2,500 penalty units and not exceeding 5,000 penalty units, shows how serious such a crime is. Or it could be that whether if it's not a fine, the judge has the power to also commit you convict you to a term of imprisonment of not less than 5 years and not more than 10 years, or even both. So in this scenario, when you are found guilty of you committing an offense of infringing subsection 2, that is posting or publishing anything indecent in relation to a child, the judge has 3 discretion or 3 options: either to fine you or to convict you to a term of imprisonment, or even both.
Okay.
So, so looking at the Cyber Security Act, it really tells us that, look, as a country, there are laws which really prevent or really frowns on such act. However, it's just unfortunate that the implementation that is in relation to the police aspect, that is not really going well. But that does not mean that. But one must be aware, because even the Cyber Security Act even gives the act the power to even educate the public for them to know that these laws are present, and therefore whoever is caught will be liable under the court.
Wow, but do you think that the punishment listed under the Cyber Security Act, this new law, do you think they are too harsh?
I do not think so. The reason being that, as I said earlier on, one of the things that the Constitution, it is the fundamental, like it's enshrined in the Constitution, is protecting public moral. The Constitution, as I once say it again, that the Constitution does not debar anyone from doing anything that might seem of bad. However, the Constitution is much more concerned into engaging such acts into the public. For as I explained earlier on, when it gets into the public, the control, you don't have control over it anymore. Therefore, if you don't take care and everything is allowed into the public, by the time you realize the entire country is moving towards a different direction, which will be very, grievous into the grievous. Yeah.
Wow, that's so interesting. Please, are you done? So are you done with the Cyber Security Act? Because basically this just came in to justify or to further inform our viewers and listeners that yes, we have supplements, like we have a lot of laws that govern social media posts and some other things. So now can we move on to the laws that she was actually, sentenced on? Because this one, it is one way, also the other, that one person can also be sentenced in the future. Yeah.
So the main act which she was sentenced on was on the Criminal and Other Offences Act, that is Act 29. For a specific reference, it's Section 208, which bars such act. And I'll read and explain a little bit further for us to understand his conviction, and how grievous it is and the other.
Okay. So, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Sorry for the interjection. But if you say the Criminal Offences Act. So what is that act? What does that act do? Like in a general, what is the general purpose of that act before we move on?
So one of the things that we must know as in the audience is that before anyone can be convicted of any crime in this country, it's not supposed to be such a way that maybe which is like it's not supposed to be done in an arbitrary manner. When I use the word arbitrary manner, is that it is at the discretion of any person or for a person to determine whether this is a crime or not. Because this is with specific reference to Article 1911 of the 1992 Constitution, which states that before any person can be convicted of any crime, that crime that crime must be defined and the punishment must be meted out. So before anyone can be convicted of any crime in Ghana, there has to be a definition of that crime, or there has to be a crime which is named or which is written in the in any act or anywhere, or it can be found in any of our laws.
Okay.
And that crime must, or the punishment must be given to it. So it has to be definite that maybe if you do A, B, C, D, this will be the punishment. And there's a definition for what is A, what is B, or what is C, before someone can be convicted. Other than that, anyone can just get up and arrest anybody for doing anything and call it a crime based on his own discretion.
Wow.
So it's based on this premise that the Criminal and Other Offences Act is one of the it is the main act which defines a lot of crimes, and most of the crimes here are defined, and even the punishments are meted out as in this act. That is the Act 29. It's one of the general provisions that defines and states the punishment for crimes.
Wow. Thank you so much for this wonderful explanation. So please, you can go ahead.
Yeah, so in reference with section 280 of the Criminal and Other Offences Act, that is, in short, Act 29, section 280 states that with the heading of publication or sale of obscene material. I'm coming. I want to read the exact provision for us. So I'm now finding. Section 280 states that I've gotten it. Section 280 says that a person who publishes or offers for sale an obscene book, writing, or representation commits a misdemeanor. So, as I made reference to Article 1911, that before anyone can be punished of any crime, the crime must be defined and the penalty must be given before anyone can be punished of anything that is called a crime in this country. And Section 280 states that a person who publishes, offers for sale an obscene book, writing, representation, commits a misdemeanor. And this is the provisions which the court found her guilty of. And one can say that, then he didn't publish any book of that nature, and it was. But one can relate that it was a representation, and that's where the court will find her guilty. That any person who publishes or offers for sale of an obscene book, or writing, or representation commits a misdemeanor. So it was the representation that made it the representation of that obscene nature that made it a crime. So one can see that It has been defined here.
Wow. Wow, that's so great, Miss. But before you proceed to further break it down, can you explain, okay, to our cherished viewers, what exactly does the law mean when it says a misdemeanor, a crime is a misdemeanor? And will you say that, I mean, she was sentenced, okay, harshly, or the law was so lenient on her part?
Well, generally, a misdemeanor is a lesser offense in respect to there are various types of offense. That is the degree of offense. We have misdemeanors, we have felonies. Even with the felonies, we have first degree and the rest. And we even have capital offenses, which are very grievous offenses such as treason and co. So with misdemeanor, it was a lesser offense which he committed. It's just like these road traffic offenses. Most of them are most of the punishment or most of the times are misdemeanors. And with misdemeanor, the person since it's much more of a lesser crime, the person when a person is found guilty, is mostly supposed to pay a fine. In most times, the person is supposed to pay a fine. However, based on the circumstances, the person can be convicted, but the conviction should is within a particular range, and that is what section 281 talks about.
Okay, okay. So that means the judge was having the discretion to fine her only, okay, and not sentence, like not send her to jail, all right? Or
Yes,
she was also have the discretion to fine her and still send her to jail, but it was limited to a certain amount of years, right?
yes, yes. So as I was saying that once a person is convicted of a misdemeanor, as you stated earlier, that yes, the judge has three options. That is one, either to fine the person, or either to convict the person, or do both. But in such circumstances, the judge is at the discretion, to opt which one he does. And as I was saying, that the conviction, in respect to the conviction, it must not be more than 3 years. So there is a limit for it. So the person or the judge has a discretion if the judge deems fit that he will convict or he or she will convict such a person or such an accused of that nature. Such a person, if the judge is convicting her, then he must not go beyond the 3 years. Anything below 3 years, the judge is within his discretion to determine.
Wow, wow. Um, um, I'm, I'm, I'm interjecting a lot. I just want
Um,
our viewers to know. All right. So, how do you reconcile the Criminal and Other Offences Act 29 with the Cybersecurity Act? That is the new law that regulates some of these nudities and what have you. Supposing the Cybersecurity Act was applied in this case, that would the judge have getting that discretion? Okay, is there such discretion in the new act, that the Cybersecurity Act, as compared to the Act 29?
with the cybersecurity, if the Cybersecurity Act was supposed to be applied, then it was either likely that her conviction would have been serious, because with the Cybersecurity Act, if it's in terms with the conviction, then the person must not. Then the judge is left with the discretion to jail someone from 5 years going, and not more than 10 years. So the 90 days period that the judge will fall out of his jurisdiction in convicting the person, even 90 days.
Wow, 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 wow. That sounds so great. Wow. Then one may say that yeah, then she was very, very lucky. The judge, that's the circuit court judge, was so much lenient on her, and then the hashtag release Akuapem Poloo'S. Do you believe that to some extent that call is baseless.
I don't think that hashtag free Akuapem Poloo'S was much relevant. One thing that a lot of people don't know is that these judges does not, most of them, a lot of them are not even on these social media platforms. And a judge in applying the law does not really matter how the public is going to react, so far as he knows that he is within the jurisdiction of him or her.
Okay, but do you also think that, you know, she was convicted and the sentencing was deferred, all right, but between the deference of the sentencing, she wasn't even privy to what she was going to face on Friday. But people went on social media to shouting free her, free her, free her. So at that time, she was she was sentenced on her or convicted on her own plea. That means she
Yeah,
knew the consequences thereafter. So do you
yeah.
think one way or the other, the call for was also influenced the court decision, even though you've already said that most of the judges are not or online or on social media to be listening to those comments. But do you think, okay, it also influenced the judge decision?
Well, I believe that it really didn't influence. However, it doesn't. It's not wrong for a judge to also have the consent of the public, because based on the constitution, they even get their power from the public. But I don't think it will really matter in a sense that the judge has to look at what the public is trying to mean, because a lot of them are based on emotions, and law is not based on emotions. You can have your emotions here and there. However, the law says that you are guilty, you are guilty.
Wow, wow, okay, okay, that's so interesting. So, um, please, so you can go ahead, to do the discussion, um, with respect to the Domestic Violence Act, because that was the particular act that triggered this whole activity. And then they were saying that the
Yeah,
act of Akuapem Polo was contrary to the Criminal and Other Offences Act, and that she must be punished. And then
yeah.
before you touch on that, I must also acknowledge our viewers, who have been us. May God bless you all for joining this conversation. Be with us, and then let's all, learn from what the guest is telling us. Thank you so much for joining. I can see Mrs. Gifty, I can see Sylvia, I can see Manoj from Sudan, and I can see Manuel. Thank you so much for joining us. So please proceed.
Okay. Um, with the Domestic Act, or with the Domestic Violence Act, in respect to Section 1, it first defines what amounts to domestic violence. And Section 1 states that domestic violence means engaging in the following within the context of a previous or existing domestic relationship. So what Section 1 first says is that for an act to be determined as amounting to domestic violence, there has to be a relation that is of the domestic type. So with the domestic violence, the Section 1A states that an act under the criminal code, that is the Act 29 that we mentioned earlier on, which constitutes a threat or harm to a person under the act. That is, with a B, specific acts, threat to commit or act likely to result in. That is a physical abuse, namely physical assault or use of physical force against another person, including the possible confinement or detention of another and the deprivation of another person of access to adequate food, water, clothing, shelter, subjecting another person to torture or other cruel, inhuman, or degrading treatment or punishment. So, and the II, that is where the matter lies, of or any other act with respect to sexual abuse, namely the forceful engagement of another person in a sexual contact, which includes sexual conduct, that abuses, humiliates, or degrade the other person or otherwise violate another person's sexual integrity or sexual contact by person aware of being, it continues thereabout. But we can focus our discussion on the sexual abuse, and this is what
Sure.
the act is dealt of, that any person or the act frowns on any act which is relating to sexual abuse.
Yes.
So with the sexual abuse, as I was saying, it will be in such a nature that may even humiliate or degrade the other person. And as I was saying, all these things are much more at the discretion of the judge to determine whether such an act humiliates or degrades anything of that nature. So it is based on, or it is within a judge's discretion that the judge is likely to determine whether maybe an act or maybe any publication that has been made falls within this category.
Wow. Wow. Said, I think throughout this discussion from the beginning, you've made several references, okay, to a
Yeah.
child, a child, a child, a child. So what does the law say when it comes to issues like who is a child? All right, so that you not be confusing ourselves as and when anytime we see any pictures online with some people, because I can see a few Schwarzenegger's, I mean pictures, okay, a few Schwarzenegger and then her children, okay, she was kissing on his lips and whatever. People are publishing it that she also must. So who is a child? All right.
Well, under the Children's Act, it defines a child to be of more than of less than the age of 18 years. However, under the Interpretations Act, it defines who a child is to be a person of less than the age of 18 years. But under the Children's Act, that is a minor. It differentiates between a minor and a person of majority. That is a minor who cannot enter into contract or any of that sort, which is of the age of the person should be of the age less than 21 years. So in this respect, one can say that maybe a child is any person below the age of 18 years. So any person above 18 years cannot be considered as a child in respect to this matter. Apart from contracts, which deals in relation to matters dealing with contracts or entering into a contract with the law, presupposes that the person must be a majority, that is, attaining the age of more than 21 years and above.
Wow. Wow, that's so insightful. But on that note, will the person also be exculpated from any criminal liability because he or she is above 18 years and then have been subjected to this act similar to that of Akuapem Poloo'S? Okay.
Yeah.
Supposing it was sexual intercourse and what have you. You know, it has its own consequences just like incest and what have you. So does it mean that
Yeah.
if you're above 18 years, you cannot be charged, or the person subjected to that act cannot be charged or cannot be brought before any competent court of jurisdiction?
Well, in actual fact, the act made reference to you being in relation with the child. So it depends on the discretion of the judge to determine whether such matter. But even if you look at what Act 29 talks about as posting anything of obscene nature, it does not. It has no age limit. So even if the act, or even if such an act does not find you under the Domestic Violence Act or the Cyber Security Act, the Criminal Offences Act can find you or can find such an act as an offense.
That's so interesting, and this reminds me of there's this particular section talks about maybe if you are 12 years and you commit a crime, if you are below 12 years, right, and you commit a crime, that means
Yeah,
that crime is deemed like you did. But if you are above
yeah,
that 12 years, you are deemed as you're liable to that. Wow, thank you so
yeah.
much. So the judge for Akuapem Poloo'S, okay, also that she's a single parent, all right, and then she's the breadwinner for the child because you intend to protect the child, but isn't the court trying to also subject the child to more, dangers or trauma and what have you? Because the judge, the lawyer for Akuapem Poloo'S clear that she's a breadwinner, a single mother, and then she's not a habitual, offender. Okay, she's a first-time offender, and then the law should be lenient on her. Don't you think that all these factors should have influenced the judgment? Okay, in that she shouldn't necessarily go to jail, but non-custodial sentencing would have been better. Okay, so what do you think?
Well, in relation to this non-custodial matter, I really remember that I saw it online that a lot of people were suggesting that why don't they subject her to maybe communal labor or anything of that sort. It's a nice suggestion. However, as I made mention earlier on, for an act to be treated as a crime, as in Article 1911 states that the act must be defined and the punishment must be described. It's just unfortunate that in Ghana, non-custodial sentences has not been given these minor offenses such as misdemeanors and things. So, assuming if the judge was given the discretion, that is, assuming maybe section 280 of Act 29 provided other means like these non-custodial sentences, then the judge will have the option of giving such offenses when found guilty or when he or she finds the person guilty. It's just unfortunate that the act only limits the judge to either a fine or imprisonment. So these non-custodial sentences does not come in at all, even though everyone will wish that with time these things will be incorporated into our criminal code for us to be practicing. Because I personally believe that if these non-custodial sentences come, it's going to help a lot than always subjecting people or always punishing people either by fine or by imprisonment. I feel that these non-custodial sentences will do much more better job in helping people and even in helping the country as a whole.
Wow. So insightful. Other people are also calling for, and then I think Akuapem Poloo'S, she always say that her twinny sister or something like that, Cardi B, she refers to as a twin sister and something like that. Cardi B, I think, is it a Twitter or Instagram message, in her response to this sentence, she said that it was too harsh, and then she should have been subjected to a community service. Do you have such punishment in Ghana? Do you have community service, like community punishment or something like that in Ghana?
Well,
Yes,
there is no act which gives or which provides any community service for any crime that has been done.
Wow. That's so great. So far as the act is being done, then you have to face the consequences thereafter.
Yeah.
Wow. So how different is that from a strict liability? Issues. Because
come again.
I'm saying that so if the issue is you've committed ABCD and you must face ABCD, does it one way or the other? Okay, trying to be like a strict liability. Kind of.
Yeah. I feel so because as I stated that Article 1911 gives the judge a smaller scope in range of punishment. That is, giving the person that the person can be either fined or imprisonment. So the judge is supposed to apply the law in a strict manner or in a strict sense, and cannot go beyond what the act is provided.
Wow, that's so insightful. Thank you so much, our cherished viewers. We've been on this show for almost 50 minutes now, and we've spoken about a lot. Our guest has educated us on this subject matter extensively, and I'm so much interested that people are so interest in this topic, and they're also contributing. Shout out to all of you who are watching. I mean, Daniel, Cypher, we have Manuel, we have Munuch, we have Xavier, and then we have Miss Gifty. We are so appreciative. God bless you all. So continuing wrapping up very soon. Please, do you have any other thing to add, or are you done with the domestic
Yeah.
violence act? Okay. What other
Um,
things
I
that
wanted to touch
the law?
on
Okay, go
I
ahead.
wanted to touch on something small that I found it very interesting on these social media platforms that other people were making the arguments of, oh, maybe what if the child consents to it? One of the things that the Domestic Violence Act provides in reference to Section 4 states that domestic violence is not justified by consent. And it says that the use of violence in the domestic setting is not justified on the basis of consent. So the law provides that in this, where there's anything in relation to domestic violence, one cannot use consent as a basis or as a defense that maybe the child consented, because with domestic violence, there's no element of consent here. So the law does not even look at consent here at all. So whether the child consented or not, the act has been done.
Yeah, so the child is below even consenting age, right?
Yeah, yeah. In normal time, the child is below even the age of consenting, because the normal age for consenting is even 60 years, and below any person below the age of 60 years cannot. The law deems it that he cannot consent to anything that is being done of that age.
Wow.
So it doesn't
Wow.
even come here at all, because the child is way below even 60 years.
Wow, so wonderful. So wonderful. So far you've gone through the fact that our guest has taken us to the fact that yes, Akuapem Polo, the law was so lenient on her part. She will have been convicted or sentenced to 3 years imprisonment with a fine, or she will have
Yeah,
only just been fined by the judge, and then say the judge should just caution her, go and don't do it again. But in this sense, the judge, in the application of the law, okay, deem it reasonable, fit, and then prudent to say that yes, looking at the way publication of such things on social media in Ghana is on the rise or in the rise, she has to use her as an example to deter future perpetrators from engaging in such acts. He has taken us through a whole lot. He has taken us through the Cybersecurity Act, the new act that regulates such offenses and what have you. The punishment that if you are engaged in, you'll be subjected to and what have you. And this is how far the Lord has brought us. We have also spoken about how a child can be consented. A child, if you are below the age of 16, you cannot be consented to such issues, because the judge in her a judgment made ask of the rhetorical question that did she ask the child before the publication of the said picture, and then she answered it again that no. Okay, so everything was done to protect the child's dignity, and then to also protect the public from being corrupt, moral corrupt, and then all those stuff. We've discussed a whole lot. So please, your closing remarks. If there are no questions from our audience, any question for our guests, you can just forward it to my WhatsApp number. You can do a call in. Okay, you can call this WhatsApp number, and then you add your contribution, whether or not you disagree with some of the things honorable guest said, or you agree with him, or you have any other thing to add. You can call this WhatsApp number, or you can leave your comment under the comment section, and then I'll put it to him. Yes. To wait for such comments, if any. Please, do you have anything to say before we bring the program to an end?
well, with me, with my view, I feel that the situation that happened, though it's very unfortunate, but punishments are being made to deter people from engaging in certain acts which the law deems it that if it does not protect such things, maybe in the near future it's going to be out of hand. And as we've seen it now, based on looking at based on these social media and everyone trying to be popular, everyone trying to seek attention and also have you. People can even go to the extent of doing anything just to get fame. And if these things are not limited by laws, it will get to a point that we will not even be having anything in relation to public morality or public sanity. And by the time we realize, our future generations will be fed with a whole lot of things that is against their morality or their dignity, or it's even against they themselves. And by the time we realize, there will not be any future for them. But assuming you subjecting a child to these acts, it's just so likely that when a person is it's just so likely that when a person goes, the person will see it to be normal, and he won't have any problem in practicing such things. And these things are what it leads to these social vices. And by the time you realize, look at what just happened in the recent incidents of a child killing his fellow friend of 10 years old, a child of 18 years and 15 years. These are things that are concerning in the public space, just because children are consuming things that on a normal day they were not supposed to consume, and it's affecting their brain. Because they are children, they do not really they do not really appreciate those facts to determine whether or not to either take it or leave it.
Wow, that's so great. Please, there's a question for you from Daniel Ado, watching us from YouTube. He's asking that please, he's told Akuapem Poloo'S was charged with 3 counts. All right, can you please reiterate those counts? I think you've said it earlier on, but he just joined. He joined in the middle of the discussion. So can you reiterate those counts that she was charged or slapped with? No, Mr. Jaco. Mr. Jaco. Hello, Mr. Jaco. Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Did you get a question?
No. Can you say the question again?
Yeah. So there's a question from YouTube. Okay. Our most respected colleague. Okay. He's asking a question that he has heard the Akuapem Poloo'S was slapped with 3 charges. So can you reiterate on those 3 charges? I think he joined in the course of a discussion, in the middle of the discussion. So can you reiterate those charges that she was slapped with? Did you get it? Hello? Yeah, Mr. Jaco.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, did you get the question?
Sorry, my network was I was having difficulty with my network.
Okay, so the question is, okay, are you listening?
Yeah.
Yes. So the question is from one of our most respected colleague. He's watching us from YouTube, and then he was like, okay, he's like, please, I'm told Akuapem was charged with 3 counts. Okay, so please, can you reiterate those counts? Okay, so I'm pretty sure he wasn't able to join from the beginning. So you made mention of it, but for the benefit of people who joined us in the middle of the discussion, can you reiterate that she was slapped with?
Yeah, he was charged with section 280 of the Criminal and Other Offences Act of publishing any picture which was or any he just published things that is that was to the law obscene in nature, and also with the domestic in reference with the Domestic Violence Act, which it was in relation to any publishing or any matter or any content with relation to the with the child.
Wow. That's so insightful. So I'm pretty sure, Mr. Mate Daniel, you are very lucky with the response over pretty one, and then I also just put it in a different way and then post it here as he give us his last comment, his last quarter comment. So what do you think going forward people should be engaged in? All right, what do you think going forward? What should be the future? What should be the way? Because this example has already been set. All right, what advice do you have for our cherished viewers and what have you, our brothers out there, our mothers, our aunties?
Well, the little advice that I have for everyone is that we should do everything in moderation. Sometimes when you are carried away by these social media, especially on these social media platforms, if you are too carried away, sometimes you might be doing something which is against the law. And how Ghana also works is that it can be shocking that you might think that something is not against the law. However, in detail or when you check, it's against the law. And we should be mindful of what we do, and to the extent of we doing anything that even in our own conscience, we know that we are going too far, especially in relation to or in dealing with things of public nature, and that we should be very selective, or we should be very limited in relation to that.
Wow. So thank you so much for making time with us, and with the greatest of respect. He has really taught us that yes, Mrao Chrome power. So if you are doing things, just do it accordingly, reasonably. If you are not in trouble, that's to say you say that but you just get trouble and see where you, you go smell pepper, So now the example have been set. So let's all follow it. Let's all be careful. Let's be mindful of what we post on Facebook, WhatsApp, Instagram, Twitter, and what have you. They are not only for posting of messages, posting of pictures in the sexual format just for likes. Sometimes we have to also project the positive part of it, all right, so that we can develop as a nation. So Mr. Jacon, thank you so much. And then to all our viewers, may God bless you all for joining us in this. So we are out, right? Or you have some other greetings, shout out to give?
So I just thank all our charity viewers, and I just hope that we've been able to educate them accordingly.
Wow, thank you so much, and then God bless you also for coming. Looking forward to working with you going forward, and then have evening. Bye.
Bye.
All right.